Welcome to the beginning of something special. This is episode 1 of The Blueprint with Bill Ingram. Over the next 10 episodes, we'll unpack the history, culture, the future of Arkansas basketball. I'm Joe Vincent alongside Bill Ingram, and today we're starting where every great story begins, the foundation. So, Bill, every basketball story starts somewhere. In Arkansas, it started in the gyms, the community centers, small towns, long before the bright lights of Bud Walton Arena or national tournaments.
Joe, man, listen. First of all, I want to say, man, how I'm excited about doing this podcast. You know, I've been involved with radio and television. But this is a little different. I can go off the cuff a little bit. I probably can say some things I normally wouldn't say on some of those.
Absolutely.
On some of those programs, and then I can actually, give my honest, blunt opinion about the truth and things of what's going on. So, like I say, I'm excited about this, man. I think we're gonna have a good time, and I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, thanks for you agreeing to work with me on this. I really appreciate that. And hey, let's have some fun and tell the story, man.
For sure,
man.
for sure, man. It's truly a pleasure to be here with one of the Arkansas architects of grassroots basketball.
Yeah, like I said, this is, this. For the one thing I would say about the rise of Arkansas basketball, it wasn't one person or one organization or one coach. It was a group of people. It was a multitude of things that happened that that caused the rise of Arkansas basketball. Now the important thing is that we are recognized as a powerful basketball state, not only in the region but from around the country. So you can look at the landscape of guys that we got playing college basketball, the landscape of guys we got playing in the NBA, Division I players. It tells our story.
Episode 1, I think, is a perfect title for Who Built This, which takes us back in time to where we got to this moment that we're at now with several NBA players later, several NBA championships later, even a 94 national championship run with the Nolan Razorback era. So we get a chance to dive off into some of those things, and you were right there in the midst of it all.
I think we have to go back to when it come to, it's two different parts to that deal. You said it's the Nolan National Championship area, and then the rise of grassroots basketball in Arkansas and where it started. And I will say this. Let me say this. I think, Joe, that we cannot say anything about, because the key to grassroots basketball is having availability for kids to go and work on their skills year-round and at times when normally the high school gyms wouldn't be open.
We're talking about in the earlier times where they weren't accessible.
We talking about the early time when it wasn't accessible as it is now.
Right,
we got gyms, workout spots now. But when you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, gyms wasn't accessible like that. And, people, it was pretty much, routine stuff, 8 to 5, whatever it did was, no nighttime unless, you was in school during basketball season. But the time that the grassroots exploded, when it exploded because kids got better, they got better when those times, when in the summer times when gyms was closed and things of that nature. So really the first person to ever, that I can remember, really start keeping a gym open 24/7. And they invited all kids to come in and play was Coach Ripley at Parkview. Yeah, that was the one place where I don't care what school you went to, because back then people couldn't transfer schools like they transfer now. It wasn't, when you went to a high school, most of us grew up in
that neighborhood.
In the neighborhood, you wanted to go to that high school. That's all. That's what you did. So,
that's what you had to look forward to.
That's what you had to look forward to. It was basically a neighborhood legacy. So Coach Rip opened a gym up during the summer times, all day, up until late at night, and anyone could come in from any school and come in and play. So it was some great pickup games going on at that time. And then he also instituted, a lot of the stuff, conditioning, the skills and drills, the working out on the weights in the summertime.
And what year was this, if you don't mind me asking?
You know, I looking at
around what time?
It was looking at those years. It was around the 1990 area,
Okay.
89, 90 area is when is when those things really start picking up, and that was kind of the emergence of when AAU first really got introduced to Arkansas and brought in, and it was beginning to take its spot in basketball.
And can you define AAU in that time versus present day time? Because now,
it was Amateur Athletic Union basketball. So basically, it's an organization that was all over the country, and they're still in existence. But the shoe companies have other shoe companies and other things have kind of coming in and blanketed the AAU. But originally, that was the only program. In the summertime we called it AAU, was Amateur Athletic Union, and you could go and you went around. You had these events in your state called state tournaments. You had to win these events to participate in a national tournament, and then if you won a national tournament, you was considered a national champion. At that time, you know, it was the only way to compete against other kids from different states. But there was a bunch of things that bloomed out of that. That and created this, you know, what we call grassroots basketball now.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but Coach Ripley was the one that kind of started the process of giving guys opportunities to work on their game year round, and especially in the summertime, because the summertime is when you had the most free time, but schools and things of that nature weren't open. Coaches didn't open gyms like they open them now. So he was kind of architect of that. Now from that came out of the original person that introduced AAU to Arkansas was a guy named Dick Lawrence. He was the original person that introduced AAU to Arkansas. And of course we all know the next familiar name that I'm gonna bring up was he was friends with Ron Crawford.
Okay.
Which Ron, of course, is truly one of the architects of the grassroots, of the growth of AAU / grassroots basketball.
Is that in Arkansas or
in Arkansas?
The country? Okay.
In Arkansas.
Gotcha.
But what Ron did, he was involved in Arkansas, and then he became involved with it on the national level. So, you know, when you look at all that, that's kind of where things really started with those guys. And I don't know. I know Rip Vision is simple. Rip Vision was always, listen, he had that simple vision where if we got places where kids can play basketball, because he was a great lover of basketball, then they can be better basketball players and they can stay out of trouble.
Right.
So that was his whole deal.
You eliminate the amount of free time, idle time.
Right.
So you
idle
replace
mind
that.
is what? The devil's workshop.
That's right.
So it's but Coach Rip was like I say, he get a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
Now
we got to definitely give him his flowers. I know he's no longer here with us, but
rest in peace. But
you all are definitely honoring him, you know, each year with events and
yes.
you know, talking about him and, you know, bringing his name up in conversations like this. So
yes. And
his legacy is definitely still living on.
His legacy is strong, and it's got a strong reach. I mean, Rip is one of the few people in the basketball game. He touched people in all walks of life. But that's where. But I think that's where it really started because of that. You know, opening that gym up, and then other people started. Okay, you know how we are as competitors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, now if my kids are playing high school ball, and they going over to Parkview and playing in the summertime, and I'm at home, then, man, I need to open up my gym so my kids can play. But it took a while for that to catch on now.
About how long you think?
I would say it took 5 or 6 years for it to really catch on with the other coaches, because that's time out your
personal
life. His professional and personal life was the same, basketball. So
all the way around the clock.
His family was the players. You know, so he didn't have another family like most coaches, and which I understand that. Most coaches got other families, so they got kids and things of that nature. Rip kids and all that stuff was the players.
More of like a lifestyle for Coach Rip, along with a ministry.
Yes, no question, no question. So that's where things kind of started. Now, like I said, when we go back to the AAU, Dick Lawrence brought it to Arkansas. Ron took it and infused it and took it to another level. And as that grew, then we started having these great state tournaments.
Where was those state tournaments held at?
They was held in Little Rock.
Okay.
So all the state tournaments was held in the capital, and normally you would have at least 25 to 30 teams in each age division.
So were they held in Little Rock School District gyms?
They was held in Little Rock School District gyms.
Okay.
Yes, they was held in. All of them was held in Little Rock School District gyms, and they were really great events because they take place over the course of 2 weekends, and at that time, whoever won that, then they would qualify for the nationals. Now you think about it, you got one in each age group. You'd have 25 to 30 teams, and one person would qualify for the national tournament out that 25 to 30.
For that age group.
For that age group. So things was really competitive.
Right.
And that was part of the growth. And as time went on, it got bigger and bigger. And then after, Ron came along and infused it, Henry Forrest got involved in it. Okay. And Henry was God rest his soul too. Henry was another great infuser that helped blow that thing up.
And he was the president of
AAU basketball. He was a national officer as well. Him and Ron was both national officers. And both of them was, of course, very competitive guys, very spirited guys, and that helped. That helped. That was all a part of the rise of grassroots basketball. And then right underneath those guys came guys like me, started to emerge out. I originally started coaching with Ron and the Wings. I was assistant coach for a couple of years. And then I started coaching teams, and I kind of rose in the ranks from there. Just loving basketball and wanting to be a part of it, and wanting to be mentors to young people. And it turned into like I said, just turned into something that I would have never imagined.
Right. And how many years later? I mean, how many years ago was that when you first got started?
I coached my first team as a head coach in 1992. It was my first year as a head coach. I was assistant before then. Yeah. And I was actually the assistant coach on the team, on the great Wings team that won a national championship that had Corliss Williamson on it, which we know Corliss' history, and he's 13th pick of the draft, and then Derek Fisher, which was the 24th.
They was on the same AAU team.
They was on the same AAU team back then. So when that team ended up winning the national championship, you had 2 first-round picks on there. Both of those guys, of course. Corliss won a national championship and an NBA championship. Yeah. Derek won.
And Sixth Man of the Year.
And Sixth Man of the Year. And Derek won 5 NBA championships and went to 8. Yeah. So these guys are have incredible basketball.
And they were direct products of working with Coach Rip as well.
Where Derek actually played for Coach Rip in high school. So he played at Parkview. Corliss played at Russellville, but he spent a lot of time in that gym in the summer in Parkview.
Gotcha.
Any one of these guys will tell you that they spent their summers in those gyms at Parkview. So, and then, like I said, and the people I'm calling out, because I can't call out everybody.
Right. There's a lot of people that played a part.
That was involved, took a part. Coach Finley.
And if we don't mention them, that's not because we not giving them their credit. It's because there's so many people and so many hands that played a part in grassroots basketball and bringing us to where we are today.
That we cannot mention everybody.
You're right. We don't got that much time today.
We don't have that much time, but during the course of these next 8-9 episodes, we are going to call a lot of names out, and some will be for good things, some will be probably things not so good. That's the good part about doing this. Right. I'm not going to say. I
mean, it's unfiltered. I mean, we giving you both sides here, so
yes,
you can't have one without the other.
No question. So, you had, like I said, a lot of those guys that was part of that, and that was the kind of really, you look at it, because AAU was going on before then. Arkansas had some really good teams. I know the Wings had some loaded teams, but that group right there was really the one that really, really put us on the national map.
Yeah.
And it was, like I say, so there was some other good teams. You know, Andrew Lane played years before them. Ricky Norton, those guys were Razorback guys.
Okay.
McDonald All-American.
And that definitely segues into our next segment is the Razorback connection. What makes Arkansas unique compared to other states in producing homegrown Razorbacks like Corliss Williamson, Bobby Portis, Isaiah Joe, Moses Moody? Those names goes on, but those are my generational names. You have, names way before them like Sidney Moncrief.
Marvin Dell, Ron Brewer, which Ron Brewer also had a son that played for me, Ronnie Brewer, Jr., Ron Brewer Jr. So these guys, Andrew Lane, which was a McDonald All-American, Ricky Norton was a McDonald All-American. All these guys were great Razorbacks. Charles Ballantyne, these guys were great Razorback, homegrown young men. And, Arkansas when you look at it on the national scene, and you ask most people from around the country, name the school in Arkansas. What school can you recognize?
Well, we know which one it's going to be.
It's the University of Arkansas. Yeah. And I mean, that's just the truth of the fact. There's and when they look at it from a national scene, because you look at these other states, and they'll have 2 or 3 different schools. Alabama, you're going to name Auburn and Alabama.
That's right.
Mississippi, you're going to name Mississippi and Mississippi State. When you
go
Ole
Miss.
Ole Miss. Yeah. Ole Miss, I say Mississippi, Ole Miss.
Yeah, but that's 3 of them in one.
No, that's one.
Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay.
If you look at even in a state like California, you're gonna say UCLA, USC. You may say Stanford. You might say that, but you're gonna say UCLA,
Cal.
USC. You may say Cal.
Right.
But most schools have multiple states. There's very few of them when you name. It's pretty much a one-state school as far as national recognition. So the Razorbacks was basically all these guys grew up knowing. That was the team that from every corner in the state, you're going to see Razorbacks. These guys grew up wanting to play for the Razorbacks. And because, like I said, that was like your pro team. Those are the guys that you saw on the news. Those were the guys
community events, basketball camps. Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, they were, and
they're like rock stars.
They was like rock stars.
Right.
And back then, when you go back to the 80s and 90s and 70s, they were rock stars. I mean, they were. I mean, because they, you get a chance. You saw them more than you saw probably any other sports, any other sports figure. So, a lot of these guys grew up wanting to be Razorbacks. And in that time, so I don't think those are hard sales.
Right.
I don't think those were hard sales. And then it was a known fact that if you grew up and you became a Razorback and you did what quote unquote what people would say the right thing, kept your nose clean, graduated, then it would always be a spot for you to be able to, further your not your basketball career, but further your future as far as employment and things of that nature.
So find a place for you to work and start a career.
And start a career, start a family. You're like a folk hero. So, I think from that point, now things, as the world has gotten bigger, and I say bigger, the basketball world has gotten bigger. And of course, social media is so prevalent now when you can see, if someone lead a state, you still can see them play because it's so many television stations and ways.
Yeah, the media rights deals and how every college, basically, or every conference, has their own deal where they're going to be on TV.
Right.
At some point.
You can get it on the internet or something. Things are, and that's all over the country, are not like that, like it was back then. It was like, if you had the opportunity to be a Razorback,
they could listen to you on the radio and it'd be like, watching the game.
Watching the game. So you just took those opportunities. And Arkansas didn't lose many kids to, outside of the state. You have to always look at where would they lose them at. West Memphis was one of the places because they lost Keith Lee and Michael Cage. But those guys in West Memphis, that's all they got was the Memphis News. And Little Rock stations or the Fayetteville station, all those things, they wasn't getting those stations. They was just getting the Memphis. So you would normally, I could see you maybe losing somebody that on the border like that. But for the most part, every kid in the state grew up wanting to be Razorbacks. And I think that, I think that also helped fuel a lot of a lot of your basketball desires, because it was, you was looking at Sydney, you was looking at Ron Brewer, Marvin Deff, you was looking at Eddie Sutton. You got a chance to watch the games when they played in Indiana State and things like that. You got a chance to see my guy U.S. Reed. U.S. Reed was another hit the 50-footer. So you got a chance to see all that stuff, and you wanted to emulate that. We emulated that stuff as growing up. We would go to recess in the elementary school, and every guy would pick the player that he
wanted to be like.
Wanted to be. Yeah. So that was him. You know what I'm saying? So
U.S. Reed was one of those guys.
U.S. Reed was one of those guys. It's crazy because me and U.S. have a great friendship. Yeah. We're fraternity brothers. We have a great friendship.
And I'm friends with his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Steven.
But I wore 24 because of him. So it's just, and that's the way things
impact and influence on
things are totally different now.
Yeah.
You very seldom see some high school kids say, I'm grabbing this jersey. I'm grabbing this jersey because so-and-so wears.
Let's skip straight to Steph Curry jersey.
Or they want their own jersey. So time to but I think, I think the Razorback impact on basketball, I mean, it's not a level you can put on that power. Okay. It was incredible. It was incredible.
So if you had to describe the Razorback program in one word across all eras, what would that be?
Exciting.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it, they won in all areas.
Yeah.
In all eras, they won.
Yeah, in all eras.
They won with Eddie Sutton in the 70s. He took them to the Final Four. In the 80s, which was still part of Sutton, but Coach Richardson came in the 80s. And, after the first year or so, they won with Coach Richardson. And then, of course, in the 90s, the late 80s and the early 90s, it was like Arkansas was one of the best programs in college basketball, period. Period. Now, after Coach Richardson left, it was some struggles here and there, but we had some good points, but there was some struggles here and there. And then
trying to get that identity back.
Yeah,
or move away from an era's identity to evolve into a new
identity. And it took a while. I mean, they went through 3 or 4 coaches. And then of course they end up selling in on Coach Anderson. I think Coach Anderson had some success, not as much as we would have wanted him to have, but he took the team to the NCAA tournament. He took them to the 32, made it to the 32 a couple times, which it was good. But but for us, when you give somebody something and take them to the top, they want that again.
They expect the pinnacle every time.
They expect it and they want it, and you should. I mean, you should. I don't think you should say, okay, we went to the Final Four and so we good for the next 10 years. I don't think anybody that's competitors and winners, won't accept that. But so after Coach A, and then of course they bring in Coach Musselman, and he do a unbelievable job taking the team to the Elite 8, 16. I mean, he did an incredible job of getting the program back to national.
Marketing guru, just shining a light back on the program, bringing excitement back.
Yes.
And like you said, I mean, he brought that level of expectancy back for a tournament appearance team every season.
Every season. And he ended up leaving and moving on, and then of course we sitting there and we wondering who we gonna get. And then we come up with this big boom. Guys start playing bad. It's hard to pull them out of that. Think about it. When Musselman was here and Trevor in Brazil started playing bad, they never pulled him out of it. That's right. He stayed there. Yeah, he stayed there for the rest of the year. Yeah. He started playing bad for Coach Caldwell at the beginning of the year, and they pulled him out of it. Not only they pulled him out of it, they got him playing as good as anybody in the conference.
Right.
So, but hey, man, it's so much, and it's just.
So as far as Coach Calipari is concerned, like, how do you see him reshaping, the Razorback brand and bringing his own identity in? His expectancy for many years has been, to produce a tournament team. Now with having, donors and backing and NIL, and you got Fortune 500 companies, basically powering, the financial side of things. How do you, see the landscape of Coach Cal's era?
Well, it's obvious he a guy that can deal with that. And he like I said, he was dealing with the ones and dones and having to rebuild the roster every year. So this is not unfamiliar territory, and you can tell when you're around him, he's comfortable in those surroundings. He's comfortable, talking to people. You never, he's always. When I say he never hides, you see him all the time, and whenever you see him, he's around. He gets in the mix with the people. So all of this stuff is really he's been ahead of the curve as far as having to rebuild a roster every year, because he was doing that for a while at Kentucky.
Yeah.
He's going getting top players, and then every year
Getting
they was
top 40 players.
yeah, and they was a lot of them was one and done. Yeah. So that's he's used to doing it now. Arkansas made such a huge financial investment in him in the program, then they expect the national championship. They expecting the Final Fours. Same thing with the people from Kentucky, and I think that's why sometimes people get stale in their position, because those people at Kentucky was expecting the national championship every year. He only won one there. Now he took them to the Final Four, I think maybe 3 or 4 times, but they was expecting the Final Four every year. Well, the last couple of years, they got knocked out in the first round by 16th or 15th seed.
Right.
Having to rebuild the roster every year. So this is not unfamiliar territory, and you can tell when you're around him, he's comfortable in those surroundings. He's comfortable, talking to people. You never, he's always. When I say he never hides, you see him all the time, and whenever you see him, he's around. He gets in the mix with the people. So all of this stuff is really he's been ahead of the curve as far as having to rebuild a roster every year, because he was doing that for a while at Kentucky. Yeah. He's going getting top players, and then every year they was
top 40 players.
Yeah, and they was a lot of them was one and done. Yeah. So that's he's used to doing it now. Arkansas made such a huge financial investment in him in the program, then they expect the national championship. They expecting the Final Fours. Same thing with the people from Kentucky, and I think that's why sometimes people get stale in their position, because those people at Kentucky was expecting the national championship every year. He only won one there. Now he took them to the Final Four, I think maybe 3 or 4 times, but they was expecting the Final Four every year. Well, the last couple of years, they got knocked out in the first round by 16th or 15th seed.
Right.
And you get knocked out, and those people. And the natives got restless, and I think it was some friction there. I don't know if they asked him to leave or anything like that.
Yeah, all the behind the scenes stuff that went on.
But you got to think those people was expecting they expecting at least a Final Four every year.
That's correct.
So I don't know if we expecting that from him. Yeah. But we won't. But we expecting a Final Four. Ain't no doubt about that.
Yeah, our level of expectancy is still just as high as Kentucky's is for him, as the Razorbacks are now.
Yeah, we expecting a Final Four. And I don't think we trying to go every year, but we feel like, hey, listen, we can't
miss it 3 years in a row.
We need to be in the Final Four at least once every 4 years.
There you go.
So and he got us to the Elite Eight 2 years in a row. So, that's what it is.
Yeah. So from Joe Johnson to Bobby Portis to Isaiah Joe, which Arkansas players embody the DNA of the state the most? What would you say?
Well, listen, we've been fortunate as Arkansans to have great athletes and great people, and especially and from the basketball standpoint, because I'm a lot more familiar with the basketball standpoint. But you think about all these guys that you just named. Bobby Portis, exceptional young man, great player. Plays hard, team player.
That's right.
You name Isaiah Joe, same thing. Play hard, great player, team player, and great. And all these guys are great off the court, dealing with the community. Trying to be good role models for the kids, and that's not easy all the time when people got cameras stuck in your face every moment.
That's true.
So when you name those guys, all of those guys are kind of in the same boat. So we've been fortunate to have those guys. I think, but I still say that the person I think that have made the biggest impact player in Arkansas basketball. I'm saying amongst the state helping grow the game and create the game. I still think it was Sidney Moncrief. I think it was Sidney. I think he was to us he was the first in this era, the first really mega star that we saw from a young age.
On the cover of Sports Illustrated.
On the cover
magazine.
of Sports Illustrated, played in the NBA, Hall of Famer, and in the community, and will tell you his story. And I think, guys like him, I think, gave lots of energies to guys like me to be able to, okay, I can go and work with this young man and be a part of his development and help him get to the point where he's trying to get to and make sure in that process, we're trying to teach him all the right things about being a good person, a good student, a good kid, doing what your parents say, doing all the right things. So
covering all bases.
Covering all the bases because we saw that example in Sidney. So I still think Sidney was the most impact. Now, you got a lot of guys that had great impact. Joe was a transcendent player for us. We had never had a player like him in this state before he came along, and I believe that, and I'll say it, and I'm not sure we've had one since him, but I can tell you this story, a quick story, unbelievable. I was coaching Joe, 1999. This is a long time ago. That's what we was doing AAU.
Okay.
We was in the national championship, and we played, at that time it was called Gund Arena, but it's the arena Quicken Loans for the Cleveland Cavaliers now.
Okay.
But it was called Gund Arena. They had just built it. So we having the AAU Nationals at that arena. And I never forget, we had just got through playing the semifinal game, and we had beat Jason Williams, the one played for Duke, the one that hurt his leg, that had the motorcycle accident.
Okay, Jason Williams.
Yeah,
the guard.
The guard.
Okay.
He's on ESPN
Commentary,
now.
yeah.
Commentary. We had just played them in the semifinals and beat them. And I'll never forget it. We're walking through the tunnel, and I look up and I see Danny Ferry at the time was assistant GM, and I can't think of the other guy's name, but I can never remember. I remember both of them saying, "Hey, that number 25 don't need to play no college ball. He ready right now." and that was before we at Arkansas, we were still trailing behind about getting high school kids into the NBA. Because that's all we knew was that you go to
it wasn't
Arkansas,
a thing yet for us.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing for us
that.
yet. You go to and what he did, you go to Arkansas for 2 years, then he was 10th pick of the draft. So that's
go win SEC Player of the Year, and then do your thing.
Yeah, and that's what I saw. But I can remember we was walking that tunnel. He said, "Hey, that number 25 right there." He said, "That guy don't need to go to college. He ready right now." Now this was a general manager of the NBA team. And it was, and I mean, of course, it turned out to be a true statement because he was the one guy that Joe was 6'8", and he could literally play all 5 positions
and guard them
and guard all 5 positions. And I don't know to this day we still had a player like that.
No, I'm in total agreement with you. I don't think we've seen an impactful player, a franchise player, impactful as Joe was in the league at his time. Joe didn't team up with guys to go play with him. He basically was the star of the team and attracted other players to come in and play with him. And I hadn't, seen that again, yet either. And maybe we'll see it again soon. Maybe that guy's out there.
Yeah. Well, I think some guys that we've seen some guys around here that has great potential. I still to this day haven't seen any of these guys around here as good as Joe.
Yeah.
Now, and that's just me. That's my opinion and what I've witnessed. But because in high school, on his high school team, he's playing center. Well, of course, he's 6'8".
Right.
Junior high, he's playing center. When he played with us, I put the ball in his hand. And just let him, put the ball in his hand and let him play point at 6'8". And he averaged a triple. See, back then, the AAU Nationals was a big deal. When we won the championship,
it was pretty much the biggest stage.
It was the biggest stage.
Basketball.
It was the biggest stage in grassroots basketball.
Yeah.
We played let me tell you something. We played in a championship game against a team called Martin Brothers Select. They had Kirk Heinrich, which was the 18th pick of the draft. They had Kyle Korver, which was the 40th pick of the draft.
And they actually played together.
And they had Nick Collison, which was the 21st pick of the draft. They had 2 first-round draft picks and a second-round draft pick on that team. That's what we played in the championship game. We ended up beating them by 13, 14 points. But Joe averaged a triple-double in that tournament, which had never happened before. Averaged a triple-double in that tournament.
And what column?
In the AAU Nationals, 19 and under Nationals.
And what stat columns were those triple-doubles in?
Rebounds, assists, and scoring. And he averaged a triple-double, and it was just and we had, we witnessed it all the time, so we was watching him play, but wasn't realizing, man, he was taking the NBA guys, these future NBA players,
first rounders,
and just demolish it. So, like I say, it was obvious that what they said about it was right.
Yeah,
and it came, and it came the truth. So that guy right there, to me, like I say, he's just a different. He was just a different guy.
Got you. Arkansas GMs and summer circuits and Real Deal in the Rock. How legends and coaches give back to the next wave. What separates Arkansas basketball culture from anywhere else?
I think, and I do think this, I think the grassroots people, myself, a number of the coaches, along with our high school coaches, are doing a great job of teaching our young people. I believe that, for number one. Second of all, I think our program, and I'm sure some other programs, we made our kids understand that these guys look at you from Arkansas, and you got to make them out of believers, because they don't believe you can play like this consistently until you do it. So I think that's part of our culture, is making sure that these kids understand that, hey, listen, you got to put on. You got to go out there and put on as a unit, and let these people know that, I said to my guys all the time before we play, I love it. Listen, when we play these teams in these big markets, I love these pregame speeches. And I done gave many of them these pregame speeches, and I always change it up a little bit, but it always go back to the same thing. We just a bunch of guys from the country, and these are city guys. They done played on bigger stages. They know more. They can play better. That's what they saying about you, and you're not going to be a problem. So I think I think a lot of that mentality sinks in, and it makes them work harder.
Is that the true underdog mentality?
It's been the true underdog mentality. It's been the true underdog mentality, and now we are established now. So now when teams play us, they already know, hey, man.
They know somebody from that team that's going to bring it.
Most of the time they know players from the team because of social media, and they know the team is going to bring it. So it's like, I can remember when we went from trying to get in to now, hey, listen, man, you playing them, that's another good team. They just, we one of the guys. We're one of the guys now. And I'm saying that we're one of the guys. We're just another really good team that's playing on the national circuit. Now,
the identity is
identity is different, but we still only got 3 million people here in the state.
Right, per capita. Yeah.
Per capita, and when it comes to those guys per capita, of course, they're gonna have better players than us. But what we've learned to do is function as a unit. And when you learn to function as a unit, you can. I've watched it over and over. You can beat you can beat teams with great players, or they'll have more great players than you if you can function as a unit. So, and I think that's been the key with us. We've been able to teach our kids to function as a unit.
Gotcha. How important is mentorship and passing the torch on to the younger generation to keep leading, us forward in this grassroots scene? I mean, we've had some incredible players. We're pretty much getting a NBA player out of, each class. It's a lot, now that's taking place, and, younger kids, see or know somebody that's in the NBA, which, back in the times,
well, it was
rare.
That was right. You're right. Our biggest star with my team.
Who was that?
Was Keith Jackson.
Okay.
And he played in the NFL.
Right.
My kids knew him because me and him are great friends. But like you're saying, we didn't know it wasn't NBA players, a bundle of NBA players around now that's giving camps every year.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Last year alone, Isaiah had a camp, Nick Smith had a camp, Moses Moody had a camp, Austin Reed had a camp,
Reeves brothers,
Jalen Williams had a camp,
Portis,
Bobby Porter's had a camp. I mean, you think about that. That's 8 NBA players having camps in one state.
Yeah.
And the majority of the camps was in Little Rock.
Right.
So these kids, the access that they have that these young people didn't have, back when this stuff first started. But I will say this, though. The one thing that really put us on the map as a national, when I say national, as far as the media and things like that, a national power in basketball, and I'm just being honest with you, was Real Deal in the Rock.
That's right.
It took us to another level. We brought the very best players in the country here.
Lottery picks, number one draft
picks, lottery picks.
Hall of Famers.
Now, you guys played on USA Olympic team, gold medalists. Right. I mean, we brought them here, and we brought them here for the fans to see where they were in high school, and of course, it was for our own players to see. This is where these guys are, and so look at them, measure yourself against them, and try to figure out how can you close that gap. But it was a national event. I mean, think about it. We were on the national news, and I'm calling the national news ESPN, ABC.
Right.
We were on the national news in one weekend. We had 2 top 10 plays in ESPN. They top 10. We had one on a Friday night and one on Saturday. We made the national news because our tournament was so popular. We had a guy that came in and played in our 16-year-old division and was 24 and got exposed at our tournament because think about it, our tournament was such a huge, and that story ended up being on ABC. And they broadcast the story from Little Rock.
He didn't think he was going to be seen like he was
because he didn't realize how much impactful our tournament was.
That's right.
This young man came over. He played at Texas. He played in Texas high school. He leave there, and he goes 6 years later, and he go to New Mexico, and he's playing over there. He's playing on the AU team in New Mexico. No, he played in Florida. He went from Florida to Texas.
Okay, I remember.
And then he played on the team in New Mexico, AU team, where he happened to be playing when the team came to Real Deal from Albuquerque, New Mexico. They happened to be in the same gym as a team from Miami, Florida, where he was playing high school ball. It's original high school ball. And the high school coach is coaching the grassroots team, and saw him. I said, man, what are you doing playing AAU? You played high school ball for me like 7 years ago.
Right.
So make it long story short, they notified me of it. I'm like, well, okay. Well, what we do, we take rosters from the high school federation. He can't. This roster that he's on
has been submitted,
and he's from at that time. It's from the state of Texas. So the state of Texas approved him to play in our event. Then they got an $8 million budget. How can we? Go ahead.
Right. So in that sense, the event was grade based instead of age based. So that would have made him literally like eligible to play in the event because he was in school. How did that work?
No, it was our event is grade based and grade
and age. Okay.
But what made him what we do is like if they send every team at that time send us a tournament, send us a schedule. I mean a roster. It had to be certified from their state high school association. So every kid has to be identified as, hey, I played at this high school this period of time. When they sent us their roster, they had and they put a little check by it. They had him playing at and it was the high school in West Texas that's so famous for football that had a show.
Oh yeah, on the Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
That high school. Whatever.
I remember the colors. The colors was red. I don't know if it was the Soto or
no, it wasn't the Soto. I know it when I hear it.
Yeah.
But that high school,
I watched it.
It was in West Texas. That high school was the one that he played on.
Okay.
So I remember. So he played for that high school. So if they send us a certified roster, we like, hey, the high school association certified this, so he good. But so come to find out, the kid was playing 16U when he was 24 years old.
Wow.
And it became a criminal case because he had dated a young lady at the high school.
It's a lot that went on.
Man, it's a lot went on. And Joe, the only reason why I remember all this because it turned into a national. It tied
the event to a national story.
To a national story. Yeah. I got calls from national reporters calling me, asking me about this. And then ABC did a story on it.
Wow.
ABC Evening News.
I'm
so
check that out.
Anyway,
I'm about to dig that one up.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
crazy.
Yeah. So another question for you. After we talked about the mentorship and passing the torch, what's the one value every Arkansas player should carry with them?
You know, times are so different now. I think, social media has really changed the game. Mm-hmm. And these kids get so much of their news and stuff from social media. You know, it's hard to – a lot of kids, Joe, does not watch full high school games no more. Mm-hmm. They watch highlights of full high school games, full college games, NBA games. They watch highlights from their phone off social media. And every parent – and these are things I can say that every parent think their kid is probably better than what he is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Every parent think their kid is going to be the guy that's going to get chosen to play in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So now, so they looking for different things now. Mm-hmm. And if I could say one thing to any of them, because it's not just them, mm-hmm. it's them and their families too. They need to take a step back and understand that this is an opportunity for this kid to better himself in life, not necessarily pro all the time, as an individual, maybe opportunity to go to school for free, develop great teamwork, great ethics, great work habits, things like that, things of that nature, instead of always thinking that at the end of the rainbow it's going to be a big pot of gold for me.
That's right.
And that's what I would like to see them take, because most of them coming full throttle. They're not taking a step back.
I know, right? They're taking 10 steps forward.
They taking 10 steps forward and ain't even covered one step yet.
Right.
You can't skip over all these steps, and just because you can do everything right doesn't mean that you're gonna play in the NBA. The basketball has turned into a global game now.
That's right.
So you competing against folks all over the world.
That's right. Got you. So on closing remarks, we're wrapping up here. We're getting close to our time. I would like to say that just from Nolan to Kyler Perry, from playground courts to Bud Walton Arena, Arkansas basketball is pretty much bigger than one player, coach, or team. It's a culture. And now it's a platform with you and I, coming together and co-producing the Blueprint with Bill Ingram. They get to hear the foundational stories. They get to hear the behind-the-scenes stories. They get to hear how basketball in Arkansas is so relevant and progressed so much in the last 30 years.
Yes. And
this is the time for people to join arms with us, play a part, sponsor, players, coaches, legends. This is your moment to lock arms with Bill Ingram and Joe Vincent with the Blueprint.
We have great athletics in this state, period. Have basketball stepped out in the forefront? I think so. I think the numbers always go by, hey, numbers don't lie and they tell a story.
That's right.
And they have stepped out in the forefront, because if you look at a quick note, any 5-star basketball players we've had in the last 20 years have been first-round NBA draft picks. Mm-hmm. We've had 2 or 3 5-stars in football in the last 20 years, and I think, I'm not going to call the names out of guys that didn't, but I think the only 5-star we had that's gone in the first round has been Sean Andrews. Okay. I think all the rest of them, I'm not going to call their names out, but they wasn't nowhere close to the first round. So that's a good measuring stick right there. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you where we are in
sport.
where we are in the sport.
That's right.
We've had a lot of high 4-star guys that get drafted in the NBA, and then starters now that were second-round picks. And they starters are big contributors, for their team. So it's just a different level,
right.
hey, we all been a part of it. It's been a lot of things that's happened. It's some good, some bad. We're gonna get into those.
And shout out to those other players that's paved the way that we didn't get a chance to mention. Jalen Williams, we didn't, talk about him enough. You also got, Nick Smith. You also got Daniel Gafford. These guys are relevant.
Khalil Ware.
Oh, man, he's great. He's great right now.
Think about it. Austin Reeves. Yeah. Listen, people don't realize Austin Reeves was a great high school basketball player. We tried to get him to play on our AAU team. He was playing with the Wings on their second team because his dad was coaching that team.
Right.
I'm not surprised when he first left and went to Wichita State. He was great there. So it wasn't no big surprise to me that he was great at Wichita State, ended up being better at Oklahoma, and then ended up, getting the chance to play in the NBA and making the most out of it. Look at him now. I mean, he's starting on probably the most star-studded team in that league right now.
Playing with a microscope on him right now.
Playing with a
LeBron.
Microscope on him, and has earned the respect of his teammates and playing great basketball. So, just think about that. We don't Malik Monk
for sure.
One of the greatest players that ever come to this state, playing at a high level in the NBA, was accounted for one of the 6 men of the year. I mean, it's so many of these guys that we didn't get a chance to talk about. And it's getting to the point where we're adding some almost every year.
Yeah, as we go.
As we're adding some almost every year. So, it's just a different level from the rest of the sports. And, I mean, that's just a fact. Mm-hmm. That's not saying bragging about it. I'm just looking at the numbers and the facts.
That's right.
Different level.
Right. That's right. Well, this concludes, our time today. And I'm Joe Vincent. This is Bill Ingram. And this
What's
is
up?
The Blueprint with Bill Ingram.